Welcome back to this channel. The Sony A6700 and the Sigma 18-50. It's a match made in heaven. And I'm here to tell you why. Alright, so before this I used a Fujifilm X-T4 and the autofocus on Sony A6700. It's just amazing. There's a lot of settings you can play around with. Like where you want the focus area to be. I don't know if you can see that. And usually I use wide, and it looks on the whole image where the camera thinks you want the focus to be. Also, you can change it. Sometimes I use spot, and with spot you can just press the button here and change the focus to where you want to be that way. That's one thing I've noticed. Another thing is I love using aperture priority on this thing. There's just one warning I want to give you, which is if you use aperture priority and you put the ISO on auto, sometimes if you don't set it in the camera, the shutter speed might be too fast, meaning the number is too low on the shutter speed. And that can result on giving you blurry pictures, basically. Now, sometimes that might be what you want to do, like that might be an artistic choice. But I'm here to tell you that the first day I used this, I was like, why are so many of my photos so bad? What you can do is go inside the settings, and there's a menu button here. Then you just go to exposure, then you press exposure like it's the first one. That's number one. Then you go to ISO, auto, SS, which stands for shutter speed. And you click that, and then you decide what you want the lowest shutter speed to be, like the fastest, like the lowest number. And I've set mine to 500. I think you can go lower, like you can go faster, lower, like a lower number. And you can put it on, I think you can get away with 125, but I've chosen 500. There's another thing you can do. You can set a maximum ISO that you let the camera to use, basically. So if you press the right button here, the lowest ISO is 100 on my camera, and I use 1600. Now sometimes I change this depending on the conditions and where I'm at. So I've found that the highest I've used is 3200. But I need to play around with this way more. So this is one of the reasons why I just love this camera. There's a lot of settings here that makes you want to experiment and makes you want to get better and focus on the things that is actually important, which is lighting, composition, and all of those things. Another thing with this camera is that because the autofocus is that great, it's amazing for content creators. You can set the camera up with a tripod and just point the camera at you and there's a creators app that you can use from your phone, so you're gonna see everything that's on the screen but on your phone, and you can like decide where where you want the focus to be. You can decide if you want like a self timer, which is great if you want to take thumbnails for YouTube or other things. So it's amazing for that. The Sigma 18-50 is amazing for the Sony A6700. This lens makes you want to play around a lot with different focal lengths, and it's not like super wide because this camera has a crop factor. I don't know what the crop factor is, but I think this lens becomes like a 27 to 55 millimeter. Also, the Sigma 18 to 50 is quite fast. It's 2.8. It's not like super fast, but it's quite fast. And just this combo makes you want to play around a lot with different focal lengths. Like you can zoom in a little bit, you can zoom out, you can play around with the composition, and it makes you learn a lot about different focal lengths and their strengths and their weaknesses. And I guess you can make the argument that, well, if you can zoom in, you can just be lazy and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna make the effort to make this composition good on this focal length, so I can just zoom in and solve it that way. So one thing you can do if that's your problem, like you don't play around enough with different focal lengths, is you can decide for yourself that today I'm just gonna use, I don't know, 24mm on the Sigma. I don't know exactly what that becomes on the camera. And you can just shoot on that focal length the entire day or something, and you're gonna learn a lot about that focal length, and you can do that with the other focal lengths too. So that's one trick you can do if that's something you're afraid of. So I love this lens with this camera. It's so versatile, makes me want to experiment. I'm learning a lot from this combo. The images on this camera is really clean, even at high ISOs. I think the highest I've gone is 3200, but I definitely think you can push it even more. I haven't shoot that much at night, but I think you can go higher, definitely. Probably, I'm just guessing here, probably 6400, maybe even 8000. Sometimes I've had to use a denoise on in Lightroom, just because I want to. I don't even think it needs to be used on 3200, but if you don't like the look, you can do that. I can't believe I waited this long to get to this combo. The Sony A6700 with the Sigma 1850, it's definitely making me grow as a photographer. And I think this should be probably your first camera if you have the budget for it. This combo, not only the camera. If you have the budget for it, this combo probably should be your first setup if you're just getting into photography. So yeah, that's all I have for this video. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.